Okay, welcome. This is going to be a somewhat different, um, I don't want to, it's not a presentation, discussion. I hope it will be a discussion, not a lecture. Um, Tomorrow, Thursday, is Gimel Tammuz, the third of the Hebrew month of Tammuz, which marks the 32nd year of the Rebbe's passing. Now, generally, when we have sessions like this, I'm saying up front, I debated quite a bit whether to do it or not because for me it's very difficult. I try to center on something that I know something about, that I can understand. When it comes to the Rebbe and Chassidut, I really don't even know where to begin. So I made some notes, kind of like an outline, and it's like a mishmash because it's not in any um, orderly fashion. Um, but I'll try to um, give over something that I feel towards Chassidut and towards the Rebbe, and hopefully shed a little bit of light on what the Rebbe means for the generation of the Rebbe and continuing up until today. So Gimel Tammuz, the third of the Tammuz, the Rebbe was born in the year 1902, passed away in the year 1994. He came to America, I believe it was 1941. It may have been 1940. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was 1941. What is the Rebbe's connection to the Rebbe? The previous Rebbe, Rebbe Rayatz, Yosef Yitzchak, had three daughters. One from the oldest was Chaim Bushka, who became, when the Rebbe married Chaim Bushka, he said, that's attached me to you being the plural, to the community, the Chabad community. Um, a little bit about Chassidut. What is Chassidut? Chassidut is very often, although not quite accurately defined, as the mystical aspect, or is based on the mystical aspect of Judaism. It actually goes much further, but to go into that would take hours of explanation. Um, for me, what is Chassidut? It's a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable. Now, some people look at the Torah, mitzvot, keeping Judaism as being kind of and he would say old. Like, I think definitely the translation is yoke, like have on the horses. And for me, it's just a lot of fun, very enjoyable. So anyway, a little bit about the Rebbe and why Chassidut puts such emphasis on the Rebbe, the idea of the Rebbe. And what is the Rebbe in the sense of Chabad? First of all, the word Rebbe is often stated as its the abbreviation of Rosh B'nai Yisrael, which means the head of the children of Israel. Um, and that essentially is what the Rebbe is. It's the head. Now, what does it mean being the head? There are two approaches. Many Hasidic groups take the Rebbe literally as being the head. What they say is that they're attached to the Rebbe in the sense of like branches being attached to the tree. If you move or shake the branch of a tree, all the limbs and the leaves that are attached to it also shake. And so in this sense, you kind of depend on the Rebbe. Your liveliness, your very essence comes from the Rebbe. The Rebbe says, the Rebbe moves, the Rebbe teaches. As a result, you move or taught or do. Chabad's approach is completely different. In Chabad, the Rebbe, true, the head is the head of the community, the head of Am Yisrael. But the Rebbe directs, gives advice, encourages, can lead on a path. But the onus of doing is on each and every person. It's not through the Rebbe. The Rebbe is the head. But as the analogy goes, as important as the head is, right? The head has the brain. The head gives life. It gives direction to the entire body. Without the feet, the head can't go anywhere. And so the head in Chabad is very much dependent on the Hasidim, on the rest of Am Yisrael, as kind of feet. Now, not everything is feet. You have feet, you have eyes, you have hands, but it's all connected to the brain, which is in the head. And it gets its directions from the brain, from the head, and that is the Hasidic approach in Chabad, being attached to the head, but the head gives substance, gives direction, as we said, it gives life, but it's not a substitute. The actual onus, I don't know, it's not such a good word. The work itself is dependent on each and every one. There are no free lunches in Chabad. And now we come to the title that I gave to this discussion, is the faithful shepherd. It's actually a concept that comes from the Zohar. The Zohar is the basic text of mystical Judaism. Now, generally, you say, what is a shepherd? A shepherd is the person who watches over the sheep. Why is the faithful shepherd is the title actually given to Moses? Why? Because Moses shepherded, is that the correct word? The Jewish nation. The Midrash explains why. When Moses was a literal shepherd, with his father-in-law, he managed the flock. The Midrash says that one of the small sheep wandered off. When Moses realized that this had happened, he went searching for the sheep and found it by a stream drinking water. And he said, if I had known that you were thirsty, I would have brought the water to you. You didn't have to go to the stream. God says, according to Midrash in the Zohar, the Midrash says that God said, this is the kind of person who looks after even the smallest insignificant sheep. This is the kind of person that I need to lead the Jewish nation. And so the faithful shepherd, that he's faithful to his flock. In Hasidut Chabad, we kind of turn things around. And we say the faithful shepherd, and use shepherd as a verb. That the shepherd, watch over, to shepherd, and I think is there such a thing? Can shepherd be used as a verb? To shepherd? To shepherd the faith. In other words, that the leader, the Moses, or the leader of each generation, and comes to instill faith, strengthen faith. As is an example, Mordechai, when in the story of Purim, when Achashverosh had Haman's behesting, gives or creates the draconic decree of killing every single Jew. It's Mordechai as the Moses of that generation, the leader of that generation, who causes Am Yisrael to come up, rise up, to regain the strength of the faith, and eventually overcome the evil decree. And it gives us an idea of what the Rebbe is for our generation. The story is told, and I think it was one of the secretaries who told us, so in other words, it's true. There was a certain Jewish newspaper. The editor came for an audience for the Rebbe. The Rebbe asked some questions, what do you do? And he was about to leave. He said, wait, before you leave, I just want you to know there are two Jews in Texas, and this is years ago, so there are many more, but two Jews in Texas who read your newspaper. He was surprised, but he thought just in New York people were reading my newspaper. And you should know that for them, your advertisements of what's kosher and not kosher, for them is the guidelines. They depend on you to know what's kosher, what products are kosher, and what products are not kosher. This is the idea of the Moses, the shepherd of the generation, who is concerned, like Moses was concerned with the one little sheep who wandered off. The Rebbe is concerned with two Jews who received the newspaper in Texas and used that as their basis, their guide for what's kosher and not kosher. And there's another story, which I happen to know is true, because I know the people involved. Rabbi in Melbourne, Gutnick, the father of the famous businessman, there was a certain girl in Australia, I'm not sure if Melbourne or someplace else, but in any case, she expressed a desire to convert to Judaism. She didn't know why, it just pulled on. And Rabbi Gutnick and others, as is standard practice, tried to dissuade her. It's very difficult. There's certain demands. You want to make sure that the person who wants to convert is genuine about it. And they kept putting her off. Anyway, the Rebbe sent a message to Rabbi Gutnick. What's happening with the Jewish girl in Australia? So they delved into it. They delved with it. It turns out that this girl who wanted to convert, her mother was Jewish. She was Jewish. The Rebbe knew one girl out in Australia, and the Rebbe never been to Australia, knew that she was actually Jewish. I have a few other stories, but I don't want to go. We can, one of the I'm going to say anyway, the 6 Day War. Before the 6 Day War, when there was tremendous apprehension all over the world, certainly among all Jewish communities, the Rebbe said, and it was in the newspapers. I've seen the articles that this is going to be I don't know if the word the Rebbe used miraculous deliverance, but there's going to be a deliverance. But sure enough, as we know, there was. This is because the Rebbe being connected as like a conduit, a pipe to receive things from above, and knowing what Hakadosh Baruch Hu is doing. But on the other hand, things are very practical. There was a couple that did not have children, and they went to doctors, they went to rabbis, they went to all kinds of treatments and things like that. Nothing helped. Finally, somebody said, as a last resort, go to the Rebbe, ask for a blessing. They came and asked for a blessing. They explained the whole situation, and the Rebbe said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So in anger, they stood up and said, we don't need your help. God will help. They said, okay, now I can help. Now I can give you a blessing. Because it's not me, even though the Rebbe knew and had the ability to act as a conduit from above and give the blessing. But if you're going to be dependent on the Rebbe, it's not going to help. You have to be dependent on I'm God. And then the Rebbe can help. And one of the things that I want to touch on is that the Yard site comes after the weekly portion of Korach. Korach was a very negative character. He led a rebellion against Moses and Aaron. He wanted the kahuna, the priesthood, for himself. And why should you? Why are you better than me? You know, it says in the book of Proverbs, it says, the name of the wicked will rot. Well, if Korach is so wicked, first of all, how can a full portion, weekly portion, be named after Korach, who is wicked? And what is the meaning that the Rebbe's Yahrzeit every year should come just after reading Korach? Well, the Rebbe turns things around. The Rebbe turns the Rebbe's whole approach was to make even the most negative things seem positive, not only seem positive, but find the positive element. And Korach, he says, Korach wanted, he desired to be the high priest. That desire is a positive thing. Everybody should want to advance, be more, whether it's holy, be more a better person, advance in whether it's the physical things, business and things like that, or advance in the sense of being Jewish. So that's what drove Korach. His method was not good, but the desire was good. And I just want to read two sentences from one of the Rebbe's speeches about Korach. It's not a word for word translation. It's but the message comes across. The Rebbe said like this: we are all holy, right? Korach wanted to be holy, even more holy. The Rebbe says, we are all holy, but we're not all the same. We are all unique, and we have to complement each other. In other words, some people are directed to the priesthood. Even today, we have Kohanim, and others are not. But we complement. It's not a matter of trying to be the same. The Rebbe continues, nobody is here by accident. We are all created by God through his divine design, and we must celebrate and maximize our individual strengths and talents. This is what the Rebbe learns from something that is usually taken negative. And because we're almost the end, I want to tell two stories, very strong stories. If we want to understand what Rebbe is, what Chabad is, what life is all about. After the Yom Kippur War, there were, we shouldn't know from such. There were quite a number of severely wounded soldiers. So the army decided that they would take a group of incapacitated, injured soldiers confined to wheelchairs, and give them a tour of New York to lift up their spirits. And so it was, of course, quite an undertaking, because as I said, they were all incapacitated, mostly in wheelchairs, missing limbs, and they brought them to New York. Needless to say, it didn't do all that much for them. They had suffered. Here they are, looking forward, facing a life, soldiers, they're young, a life in which they are so handicapped. And as they're being wheeled around, taken through the streets of Manhattan, they come across a mitzvah tent, Chabad mitzvah tent. Chabadikim come and say, "Oh, you want to put on tefillin?" Some did, some didn't, whatever. And they started telling the story. Who organized it? Why are they there? So the shluchim at the mitzvah tank decided tomorrow we'll arrange a meeting with the Rebbe. which is very unusual because normally to meet with Rabbi, you sign up, you take, the appointment. It could be months. Um, but when the Rebbe heard about it, he agreed to meet them the next day. And somehow they transported this whole group with the wheelchairs and what do you crutches, and they brought them out somehow all to 770, and they brought them down to stairs into 770, the big hall there. And the Rebbe came out to talk with them. Now there were 2 points here that are so critical to understanding what the Rebbe is. And what they're called in Hebrew is Nachei Tzahal, handicapped soldiers from the army. And he said, no, 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 you're not handicapped. Etem mitzionei Tzahal, the excellent of the army. Immediately everything changed. There was a reason, there was some appreciation. The soldier who told the story said that after the Rebbe spoke with him for a while, he came around and came to each one separately. It said something very quietly to each and every one. The soldier who told the story said the Rebbe came to him and he said, I just want to thank you. And then went on to the others. He said, that's what I needed. Somebody appreciated what I went through. Somebody appreciated what I am going through. Somebody appreciates what I'm going to go through. That's what I needed. And when he spoke with all the other soldiers, each one said the same thing. The Rebbe told me exactly what I needed to hear. That, in a nutshell, is the Rebbe. One other story. And with all the stories and miracles stories and everything else, this is in a way my favorite story, and I'll explain why. It's nothing so bombastic, but it captures the essence of the Rebbe. I have a friend. I heard it from him firsthand. When the Rebbe, as you know, the Rebbe would give out dollars on Sunday mornings and all sorts of occasions, and I mean, I've been there when the line for the women was a mile long and the line for the men was a mile long. They could take 4, 5, even 6 hours from with the dollar from the Rebbe. I have several. Meant to bring one to show proof, but I have and I carry with me all the time. The idea was, as the Rebbe would say, blessings. Just the word, like peace and blessings, or good luck and blessings, something to that effect. And the idea was that after receiving the dollar from the Rebbe, you would give other dollars that you had with us to charity. Sometimes people would pass by and they would be able to ask for a certain problem that they had, a certain. In any case, the first time that I went and received a dollar from the Rebbe, the line began downstairs at 770, and people were waiting. And in, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes, when the line began, because it was short, the whole line would be finished. At the beginning, the first few months before people understood what was happening. So my friend was downstairs at 770, and he had just begun to daven, to pray, the morning service, and suddenly he sees the line is beginning to go. And he has a dilemma. I came all this way from Israel, and I'm going to miss it. What's what? So I said, well, I'll take off the tefillin. I'll stop the davening in the middle, start the praying in the middle. I'll get the daven and then continue. He said, no, I'm going to finish the prayers. He finished the prayers. By the time he finished, the line had finished, the door closed, and it was over. So when he went outside and he met his wife, he said this, I was so embarrassed that I had come all this way from Israel to receive a dollar from the Rebbe, and I missed it. So he was so embarrassed, he didn't say anything to his wife. He just pretended. As they start walking, his wife says to him, very strange. I don't know why, but the Rebbe gave me $2. Knows what the Rebbe was saying is that, yes, what you did was right. The first comes God. The Rebbe is there to help, not a substitute, but as like a father. And that's why there are miracle stories that are much more impressive and bombastic and all kinds of things. But for me, that story is the essence of it. I'm here as a father. I'm not as a substitute. Okay, it's 12:30. There's one last question. It says in the Zohar that a tzaddik, after his passing, is present in the world even more than when he was physically present in the world. Why? Because when you're physically present in the world, you're limited. You're in a certain place. You have eyes, you have ears. Afterwards, you don't have that limitation. And this is what the Rebbe is today. With the Rebbe, same Rebbe, the same ideas, the same fatherliness, the same inspiration, but without the restriction of being in a certain place and being within a bodily confines. And so as we continue and get closer and closer to the full and final redemption, let us get strength from the Rebbe. Let us get inspiration. Let us get guidance. We learn all the Rebbe's teachings, and this will bring us to a higher level until we do reach the full and final redemption. If anybody has comments or questions, please go ahead. Can't be that I was that good. That I explained that well. Okay, I hope I got something of the message across. Like I said, and I'm not giving excuses. This is difficult for me because I don't know how to give over these kinds of things. It's much easier to talk about all kinds of esoteric ideas and philosophies, Torah teachings. This is real world. So if I got a little bit of that message, a little bit of that excitement, some of that love across, then as you said, Dayenu. So everyone keep well and take care. We should only hear good news to all of Am Yisrael all around the world. And in Hebrew we say B'sorot Tovot, good tidings. Everybody should stay well and healthy, and all the best.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Keep well. Keep well.